Welcome to the Bullvine Podcast. I'm your host, Bella, and today we're diving into what might be the most transformative story in modern dairy genetics. We're talking about a man who's been called the Steve Jobs of our industry, Juan Moreno.
And I'm Douglas. Today's episode is particularly special because we're exploring how one individual fundamentally changed dairy breeding worldwide. From gender-sorted semen to genomic testing, Juan Moreno's innovations have reshaped how every dairy farmer makes breeding decisions. We'll trace his journey from a Colombian cattle farm to becoming this year's World Dairy Expo International Person of the Year.
You know, Douglas, when people say bull in a china shop, they usually mean something destructive. But that's not what we're talking about today, is it?
Not at all, Bella. We're redefining that metaphor completely. Moreno is like a bull who knew exactly which outdated practices needed breaking to build something better. Let's dive in.
So how exactly does a kid from Colombia end up transforming the entire dairy genetics industry? It's actually a fascinating story that begins on his family's cattle operation.
Moreno himself has said, quote, "It all started on my family's cattle operation, where an early fondness for animal husbandry took root. Those early experiences shaped my understanding of the practical challenges farmers face every day." End quote.
What I find incredible is that from the beginning, Moreno wasn't satisfied with how things had always been done. He had this constant curiosity about why practices existed and whether they could be improved.
That curiosity led him to the Ohio State University, where he earned his Bachelor of Science in Dairy Science. But he didn't just focus on academics. Moreno was actively involved with the Ohio State University dairy judging team.
Anyone who's been around dairy judging knows that's where you develop that critical eye. You learn to see what makes a truly exceptional animal.
Absolutely. And Moreno continued building his expertise at Texas A&M University with graduate work in reproductive physiology. That specialized training became the foundation for his later innovations.
But making the leap from academia to entrepreneurship is huge. How did that transition happen?
After his education, Moreno took the gutsy step of founding Sexing Technologies, or ST for short. Can you imagine those early investor meetings? "We're going to revolutionize dairy breeding by sorting sperm cells." It wasn't exactly a conventional business plan.
I would have loved to be a fly on the wall during those pitches. But clearly, he was on to something big.
Let's talk about what made Moreno's work so revolutionary. Before his innovations, dairy breeding was essentially a coin flip.
That's right. Before gender-sorted semen, farmers had no control over whether they'd get heifer or bull calves. With conventional semen, it was roughly 50-50 odds. And for dairy operations, most bull calves have limited value.
ST's technology changed this equation completely by pioneering gender-sorted semen with over 90% accuracy in predetermining offspring sex. This meant dairy farmers could reliably produce predominantly female calves.
It's hard to overstate what a game changer this was. Suddenly, resources weren't being wasted on raising animals that wouldn't contribute to milk production.
The science behind this is fascinating. ST's team developed a method to separate X chromosome-bearing sperm, which produce female offspring, from Y chromosome-bearing sperm, which produce male offspring, using a technique called flow cytometry.
You're tough today. That sounds simple when you say it like that, but I'm guessing the actual bioengineering challenges were enormous.
They absolutely were, and Moreno has been refreshingly honest about those challenges. He said, quote, "We've been investing in these projects for years, testing both beef and dairy animals. It's a long-term commitment that requires patience and persistence. Not every farmer immediately sees the value, and communicating that value effectively has been one of our biggest hurdles." End quote.
I love that honesty. Innovation isn't instant. It takes years of persistence and overcoming skepticism. But Douglas, Moreno didn't stop at gender-sorted semen, did he?
Not even close. He expanded Sexing Technology services to include genomic testing, whole genome sequencing, bioinformatics, and bioelectronics. Each of these fields could support an entire company, but Moreno recognized how they interconnected to create a comprehensive approach to genetic improvement.
And one of ST's more recent innovations is EcoFeed, right? What exactly does that technology do?
EcoFeed focuses on enhancing feed efficiency and reducing environmental impact. Moreno explains it this way, quote, "Feed is essentially 65% of the cost to operate a dairy. So if you are able to save 10% of feed costs through feed efficiency, you are saving a substantial amount of money. And what's more, EcoFeed is a heritable trait." End quote.
So it's both economically beneficial and environmentally responsible. That's the definition of a win-win.
Exactly. By selecting for animals with improved feed conversion efficiency, EcoFeed helps reduce resource inputs required for milk production while decreasing agriculture's environmental footprint. Now let's talk about what these innovations mean for the average dairy producer. How can farmers actually implement these technologies?
Yeah, that's what our listeners really want to know, right? If you're milking cows twice a day, how does this high-tech stuff translate to your operation?
According to Moreno, quote, "In the U.S., about 30% of dairy producers are now using genomic testing to make early decisions about whether a female is going to be productive long-term. The figures show us that we get 76% accuracy on that genomic prediction." End quote.
Let me explain the economics, because this is where it gets really compelling. For the first 60 days of a calf's life, it costs about $5 per day to feed it milk. After that, it might cost $2 per day. By the time that heifer reaches calving age, you've invested around $1,400 to $1,500 just in feed costs.
And that's the key insight. Why would you wait 2 years to find out if that animal's genetic value is below average after you've already invested all that money? With genomic testing, you can spend just $30 as a calf and know her genetic value immediately.
That $30 investment could save you $1,400 by not raising inferior animals. When you put it that way, it's a no-brainer.
For farmers considering these technologies, Moreno recommends starting with genomic testing. He says, quote, "Most people look at genomic testing in terms of genetic gain, and while there is a lot of value in genetic gain, there is a lot of money to be saved in not having to raise animals that are not going to perform. What genomics does, it allows farmers to make a selection of traits which are most important to them." End quote.
I love that Moreno doesn't push a one-size-fits-all approach. He understands that different operations have different priorities.
He's actually quite clear about this. Quote, "I don't believe in the concept of a super cow. Farmers will have different sets of priorities depending on their location and their markets. For example, in one part of the UK, it might be more important to breed a cow that excels at grazing. Another part, it might be milk solids. And in a third part, it might be how that cow looks. There is not one trait that fits all." End quote.
So Douglas, let's talk about how Moreno has turned these innovations into a global enterprise.
Under Moreno's leadership, Sexing Technologies has expanded from its initial focus to become a comprehensive genetic improvement company with truly global reach. They now operate approximately 60 sperm sorting facilities worldwide, 8 in the United States and more than 50 across 19 other countries.
That's not just global expansion, that's global domination. And it means farmers around the world can access these game-changing technologies.
Beyond the sperm sorting facilities, ST also manages 7 bull stud farms, 4 in the United States, 1 in Canada, 1 in Italy, and 1 in the United Kingdom. These facilities house elite genetics that form the foundation of the company's offerings.
Moreno has also grown through acquisitions, right? What companies has ST acquired?
They've acquired several strategic entities, including Transworld Genetics, Taurus, TAG, Cogent, and Insemi. When asked about the Cogent acquisition specifically, Moreno said, quote, "It was a very fortunate situation for us to be able to purchase Cogent. We're excited about all the opportunities this brings. ST Genetics, we house a lot of bulls and a lot of genetics in the UK, and we see it as the launching pad for many parts of the world." We will continue to invest heavily in Cogent in the UK to make it bigger and greater than ever before." End quote.
And in 2015, he launched ST Genetics to focus specifically on livestock genetics development and sales, right?
Correct. This vertical integration created a powerhouse offering both breeding technology and superior genetics directly to producers. And most recently, Moreno orchestrated the impending merger with Select Sires. Combining ST's advanced reproductive technologies with Select Sires will establish market presence and distribution network.
Douglas, one aspect of Moreno's impact that's often overlooked is how he's connected the academic and commercial worlds. Can you tell us more about that?
Absolutely. Moreno has fostered strong connections between academia and industry by providing employment opportunities for Ohio State graduates at ST Genetics facilities in Ohio, Wisconsin, and Texas. This helps create a pipeline of talent from university to industry.
And I understand the company also offers internships for students.
That's right. These internships allow students to gain hands-on experience in cutting-edge reproductive technologies, preparing the next generation of agricultural scientists and practitioners. It's an invaluable opportunity for students to see how theoretical knowledge gets applied in real-world settings.
I imagine that creates a really dynamic environment with fresh ideas constantly flowing into the company.
It does. And Moreno takes it a step further by encouraging ST Genetics employees to engage in academic activities. Some have even become adjunct faculty at universities. 2 employees currently serve as adjunct faculty in the Department of Animal Sciences at Ohio State University.
So they're actually teaching the next generation while working in the industry. That's a powerful combination.
And perhaps most significantly, Moreno provides access to ST Genetics' state-of-the-art animal facilities for research projects. This support enables academics to conduct studies that might otherwise be impossible due to resource constraints.
That really closes the loop between research, education, and practical application. Academic researchers get access to cutting-edge facilities, students learn from industry professionals, and the company benefits from fresh research insights. Let's talk about the overall impact Moreno has had on the dairy industry. Just how extensively have his innovations been adopted?
Today, approximately 30% of all semen sold worldwide utilizes ST's sex-sorted technology. That statistic alone demonstrates how thoroughly Moreno's innovations have transformed standard breeding practices globally.
Beyond the immediate benefits to dairy operations, Moreno and ST's work also addresses broader challenges in global food security, doesn't it?
Absolutely. As the world population continues to grow, the demand for efficient, sustainable protein production becomes increasingly critical. By enhancing the genetic quality and production efficiency of dairy cattle worldwide, ST's technologies help meet this demand while minimizing resource use.
I like how Moreno frames this himself. He says, quote, "ST Genetics' main goal is to partner with producers and bring new technologies to the marketplace to help the farmer. If farmers are profitable, they are more likely to do business with us. If they are not, companies like ours won't be around. We want to develop the genetics that will make the farmer profitable and the end product something consumers want to buy." End quote.
That direct link between his company's success and farmers' success is refreshing. It's not just talk. His company now employs over 1,815 people across 16 countries.
Douglas Moreno seems particularly concerned about balancing innovation with consumer perceptions, isn't he?
Absolutely. He said, quote, "We are very concerned about the environmental issues as a company and as an industry. We are also concerned about some of the wrong perceptions the general public has about animals in agriculture. We believe that not only can we make progress with some of the environmental traits so that the public feels comfortable about buying our product in their grocery store, but it can also be of great benefit to farmers." End quote.
His eco-feed innovation really exemplifies this balanced approach. It reduces methane emissions while saving farmers money on feed costs.
That forward-thinking approach earned ST Genetics the Innovation in Climate Action category award from the International Dairy Federation in 2024.
What about Moreno as a leader? What makes his management style unique?
Moreno's leadership philosophy is characterized by openness, innovation, and a commitment to nurturing talent. He maintains an open-door policy that encourages employees at all levels to share ideas and concerns directly with leadership.
That creates a very different corporate culture than what we often see, doesn't it?
Definitely. Rather than imposing a rigid hierarchy, Moreno has built an organization that values input from all levels, recognizing that groundbreaking ideas can come from anywhere within the company.
And he's known for being hands-on too, right? Visiting farms and staying connected to the practical realities of agriculture.
Yes, and that's crucial. It ensures his innovations address real needs rather than theoretical problems, making them more readily adopted by producers worldwide.
With all these achievements, Moreno has received some significant recognition, hasn't he?
In 2013, he was named one of the 100 Colombianos by Colombian President Juan Manuel Santos and received the Peace Award for International Excellence. In 2022, he received the CFAES Distinguished Alumni Award from Ohio State University. And now, in 2025, he's been recognized as the World Dairy Expo International Person of the Year.
And let's not forget the 78 patents granted to him and the ST team throughout his career. Each one represents a unique contribution to advancing animal reproductive technologies and genomics.
Can you imagine having 78 patents to your name? I'd be happy with just one.
What about the future, Douglas? What's next for Moreno and livestock genetics?
Despite his numerous achievements, Moreno continues to push boundaries with a focus on global food security and environmental sustainability. However, he's also very clear about certain ethical boundaries.
He said, quote, "We make genetic decisions to bring the best, most elite individuals into our lineup to offer to a worldwide market. Part of that is through embryo selection, but we will not get involved in man-made genetic modifications for commercial production. ST Genetics is here to advance what nature has provided and will not get involved in genetic modification." End quote.
His reasoning is quite compelling. Moreno points out that about 87% of consumers live in large cities and have a total disconnect with farm production. If those consumers don't want genetic modification, he asks why the industry would risk alienating them.
That thoughtful approach to innovation, working with nature rather than against it, might be the most important lesson from Moreno's career. As we wrap up today's episode, let's reflect on Juan Moreno's extraordinary impact. From his beginnings on a Colombian cattle farm to becoming a global innovator, Moreno has redefined what it means to be a bull in a china shop. Instead of accidental destruction, he represents purposeful disruption and creation, dismantling outdated approaches to build something better.
Through gender-sorted semen technology, genomic testing, and creating a global enterprise bridging science and practical agriculture, Moreno has forever changed how dairy farmers approach breeding decisions. His vision, perseverance, and innovation demonstrate how one person can transform an entire industry.
As the 2025 World Dairy Expo International Person of the Year, Juan Moreno stands as proof that sometimes the most valuable thing in agriculture is someone willing to break with tradition. In the delicate china shop of conventional farming, he's shown that sometimes it takes a bull to create something beautiful.
We hope you've enjoyed this episode of the Bullvine Podcast. If you're interested in implementing genomic testing or sexed semen technologies on your operation, visit our website at www.thebullvine.com for more resources and articles on getting started. And if you've already been using these technologies, we'd love to hear your experience. Leave us a comment or send us an email at feedback@thebullvine.com.
Thanks for listening. Join us next week when we'll be discussing emerging trends in crossbreeding strategies for commercial dairy herds. Until then, keep breeding for better.